All right, welcome to Technology Integration 101. We're going to spend some time working through what it means to integrate technology within our classroom while maintaining the integrity of the content with which we're integrating. So the first question we have to ask is, what is technology? And as you're watching this, what I want you to do is I want you to pause, take just a few moments, and list what technologies that we use in our classroom. You can press pause now. What I also want you to look at is describe their use. What is their accessibility? What is their function? And then begin to ask yourself, what is the level of their integration? Are they vital? Are they superfluous? Are they nice to have around but not a necessity? How would you describe the level of integration? The next step in this process of understanding what it is that we do to integrate technology within our classroom is who and what must be involved. Is it the teacher in the technology? Is it the students in the technology? What role does the technology play in technology integration? Is it just about learning how the technology works? Is it just about how we can use it in the classroom? Or is it looking at how technology works, but also how to use that to the benefit of the students, to the benefit of student learning, and expanding beyond? Here's a Wordle of looking at technology in the classroom. What do you notice as the important words? Technology, music, knowledge, learning. You're going to see a few other things in there as well. TPAC, digital. And so we see the importance of getting to that understanding. How are we going to make this pedagogical? How are we going to work technology into our classroom? So I ask, what is the difference if I say digital natives versus digital immigrants? What are the first words that come to mind? Most of the students that we work with nowadays are going to be digital natives. They don't realize what it was like before everybody had a computer in their home. I was a ninth grader before we even had a home personal computer. The first personal computer we had when I was in ninth grade had 486 kilobytes of RAM. And today we're looking at, and when we get into storage, I remember putting in a 1 gig storage when I was a senior in high school, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So, this idea of digital immigrants are the ones who have immigrated into this world of technology and have had to learn it as an addition to life itself. Whereas with the digital natives, technology is part of who they are. It's part of how they interact with society. It's part of how they interact with their friends. It's part of how their fabric within their life. So they don't know what life is without technology. And that's important for us to understand in that when we come in to integrate technology within the classroom, there's going to be levels of understanding that are beyond our own. So we have to have a strong enough foundation in technology to then be able to add to and supplement and enhance our students' education through providing experiences that are going to enhance their already broad understanding of technology and how they use it. For example, my oldest daughter, we waited until she was 8 years old to get an iPad, and she learned it fairly quickly. Well, my youngest daughter got her first one when she was 4 because she was already a master of the phone and the iPod, and it just made sense. So they pick up on the technology very quickly, and it's really interesting to see how that works. That's why you see a lot of technology classes being taught by very young uh, teachers, and then their class is being taken by people my age and older. So we have to keep this in mind as we plan for how we're going to integrate technology within our classroom. And we really must work towards a convergence of balancing this idea of the importance of musical content with the importance of technological content and fusing them together to create a unifying experience to where they don't realize that they're learning how to use the technology and how to understand musical concepts. It's built through one experience where all of the skills and all of the experiences unify to teach one overarching concept. So we must continue to work toward that convergence. So take just a moment, press pause, and ask yourself, what are some reasons that we would want to integrate technology in the music classroom? You can press pause now. Okay, welcome back. So this was the challenge that was put forth in Bill Bauer's book, Learning Today, Digital Pedagogy for Creating, Performing, and Responding to Music. And this chapter should be on the website, should be on Canvas, but you should also have access to the book, and I believe it's listed as one of the readings as well. But here is the challenge: how we can integrate technology effectively into our work lives of adults and students that advance much more ambitious instruction and higher levels and deeper learning by students. It all comes back to student learning. How are we going to integrate technology in a way that improves student learning in both technology and music and gets them to a deeper understanding and higher levels of achievement? So now we talked about ways that we could. What are ways that we currently integrate technology? And the question is, are they aligned? Take just a few moments. We see an integration gap. And what I mean by an integration gap is, yes, we integrate technology, but it is in name only, and a lot of times it's very superficial. So this gap between what we're saying and what we're actually doing is fairly large. We've got to find some way to address that gap. So one way that this might happen is the use of the metronome. Yes, it's a tool. Yes, it's technology, but are we necessarily integrating it, and is it causing the students to get to a deeper understanding? Just food for thought. Many also fear that students are not learning the important information if we only focus on technology. Many of you in 512 remember reading the Mishka article where it says they're not really learning composition if all they're doing is dragging loops into a loop generator. Okay, But what we have to remember is that we are teaching musical concepts, and the students are having to make conscious decisions, conscious musical decisions through that process. So we also have to really take stock of what are our objectives and what are our learning outcomes for our students? What are the concepts we want them to master? And in some ways, how are we going to integrate technology into our classroom to make that happen? So when we look at technology integration, I want you to focus on these 7 things. Number 1 is content knowledge. Okay, this is the knowledge of music. This is the technology. This is what it is that we want our students to know. Pedagogical knowledge is going to be, how do we teach it? How do we approach creating experiences that are going to be effective in the classroom? And then technological knowledge is, how do we understand the technology? Can we operate the technology? Now, as you begin to fuse these two, content pedagogical knowledge, how do you teach the content? So how do you teach the technology? How do you teach the music? Okay, technological content knowledge. Okay, how do you teach, or what is the content knowledge of technology that we need to know? And then technological pedagogical knowledge, how do we teach technology? And then finally that gets to where all of them intertwine, and we get to what is called TPAC, which is technological pedagogical content knowledge. That's where we want to operate. We want to operate in a spot where we let our teaching skills take over, and we create experiences that allow them to immerse themselves in music, technology, and become better musicians because of it, become better technicians because of it. Here's a picture to kind of give you an idea of what this looks like within the context of a classroom. And here you can see we have technological knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and the content knowledge. And this is the area where we start to get all 3. And notice this dotted line around the outside. This is the context within which you teach it. And that's going to be important for us to understand. What is the content and how is it structured? And then we get into now the 3 artistic processes. And this is the foundation of the new standards. How are they creating using technology within the classroom for musical purposes? How are they performing music through technology? How are they responding to music through technology? Okay, so we want to look how they're operating within those 3 artistic processes through the technology integration. So before class, what I want you to do is I want you to just take one artistic process, and I want you to compose an outcome. I want you to think of a pedagogical approach, identify some potential technologies, and then come up with 1 to 2 ideas for integration. So that when you come to class, we will then begin discussing our ideas, and then we will begin to share our ideas with our peers and come up with our own technology integration lesson for this course. So before next class, select one of your ideas and expand it into a technology integration lesson, or begin to plant the seeds. We will work more on this in class. And then bring with you a possible objective, a possible assessment, and begin to sketch the outline of your projected lesson. Dr. Gergel will work with you on other ways that you can integrate technology. And then once you have put everything together, you're going to go through this process your own. And the next time we meet, September 8th,